Good evening, fellas. How we doing?
Living the dream.
All right.
Cheers. Glasses up, everybody.
Cheers. Oh yeah.
We are just a bit outside
Getting an empty
podcast,
glass.
and we are live on YouTube, coming at you guys. Thanks for hopping on, everybody. I know it's been a little while since all three of us have been together on a podcast. I know the last time Jason and I we kind of did the draft special, the live draft special, because Cody was marooned on an island. What was it? The town Roomba run over the town Ethernet cord and
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. It was as good an excuse as I got. So.
Well, hey, I mean, like, no internet. I guess that's a pretty decent excuse. Can't really do a podcast.
Right, but the Roomba eating the Ethernet is a more clear answer than I got from my internet service provider. So,
yeah. How long did it take before they fixed
it? So it went down at like 12:31 p.m. and then it didn't come back on until like 7:30 in the morning the next day, which is insane. Like that's definitely the longest internet outage I've had without a hurricane impacting like the whole power grid versus like just the internet. So but of course, perfect timing. Like, and if I'm one of the goofy people that genuinely loves watching the NFL draft, and of course it was like that day that that the internet went out. So
well, yeah, I mean, like out of all of us, you definitely follow that stuff more closely, and I felt like our live show was like perfectly tailored for Cody to step up and just shine. He's gonna be rifling off freaking RAF numbers and stuff like that, and then he's like, "Guys, I can't join. My internet's out." I'm like, "What do you mean?"
I was devastated. Yeah.
I mean, like we both live in an area where like your internet goes out for like 30 seconds.
Minutes.
And I'm flipping freaking tables. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
But you probably got like one service provider that brings stuff out there, right?
It is. So thankfully, and funny enough, when I first moved here, it was just one. Mm-hmm. And they had a sole monopoly on the entire area, and they knew it. Like, it literally was like the South Park episode where they're like, "Oh no, your internet's out? That's terrible." So. And since then, they've added a few competitors, and it's leveled the market out a little bit. But it's all just terrible.
Yes.
There he is. Yeah, we looked. Yes. It was awesome.
Look at that.
That was
smoke.
Awesome because it looked like you lit your computer on fire.
It does too, right? I knew your RAM was running hot, but damn.
You're right. After today, I might just do that. I don't know. I'm not sure. So. There we go.
Well, yeah, so
now it's an official cheers.
Yeah. There we go. Are you Eagle Rare again?
No. I just went old school with Basil Hayden's this time. So nothing fantastic. You know, went with the old dependable.
Never had a bad time with Basil Hayden.
Nah.
And you got the cut water again.
Yep. Easy, convenient, effective.
Going 3 Floyds.
Ooh.
Wait, I gotta turn it. Whoop,
LA.
Come on.
Wait, three Floyds Blood Forge? I never even heard of that.
Yeah. That's sick.
Wait, they made a bourbon now?
Mm-hmm. They sure did.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
they're jumping the shark. That's not allowed.
Three Floyds is, for those uneducated, is a pretty well-known brewery out here. I mean, I think they're pretty well-known nationwide now, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Everywhere that sells craft beer has Three Floyds.
Yeah. So they got into the whiskey business, And
interesting.
Blood.
Same artist, it seems like. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty good.
Not to completely go off the rails, but I actually watched a master class earlier in the week. Now I feel like I'm like out of the trenches and like I can like breathe again. So I'm like, how do I like ease back into like being productive and learning every day? So I did. There's a master class that was focused on making impactful design and brand decisions, and it was a master class by the CEO of Liquid Death, the canned water.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome.
Was it?
It was awesome. Yeah.
It's
really good.
I'm so fascinated by that company because I I don't know, maybe the branding or something that speaks to me, but like,
Yeah.
I've never been like, I'm not a pamplemousse freaking LaCroix like drink
Right.
like water that tastes like TV fuzz kind of guy. But
I like LaCroix, so.
but I found myself
Not-
drinking a lot of Liquid Death stuff, and I think it's a little bit more kind of like some of their outside, like off the wall stuff. Like they have a cola and they have like a Dr. Pepper rip, and they've got
They have teas now.
Yeah, they have teas now as well too.
Yeah.
But I like all their stuff, and I think it's maybe just kind of like a branding thing that speaks to me. I like the all the death and metal-y kind of imagery and stuff. So which
Well, he goes into the strategy behind it. Because he spent his most of his career kind of doing the like industry, the design agency grind, and worked with. He said it's something that what's his name? The CEO of Virgin Airlines.
Oh, Richard Branson.
Richard Branson had said. He said, if you want to be successful, find the most boring genre or whatever it is, and then be the most interesting one in that genre. He's like, that's what we did with
water.
It's like, so he's like, honestly, he's like, the funny thing is the first thing we tried was alcohol, and he's like, I literally went to the local liquor store. I was like, all right, what branding sucks? What's unappealing? It's like the number one, obviously, like there's a ton of great design with like whiskey, some great vodkas, even some great tequilas. He's like, but then I went to the brandy section and there was dust on every bottle. He's like, what does brandy taste like? He's like, oh, it tastes like whiskey but sweeter. He's like, and whiskey's the most popular one. He's like, so they did brandy. He's like, it didn't go well, but he's like, but because I knew we were onto something, so he went for the water thing, kind of sarcastically, and then it just caught fire.
Nice. Brandy's a tough one too, because like, yeah, I think you're spot on. It like it is like whiskey but sweeter, but like a lot of the big brands in there are kind of like more like high class and like pinky up kind of stuff, or like
I was expecting him to say gin or something, but then you've got Ryan Reynolds that he's kind of lit that back on fire. So
that's cool though. Yeah, I'd have to check that out. I'm a big Liquid Death fan, so
it's cool.
Is it a sparkling water? I don't even drink it. I mean, I just know of the branding.
It's like they started with mineral water, right? And then they went to sparkling, and then they went to teas, and then because they were saying he's like one of the things that made him want to go into water and was okay with going into that branding because he was a big skateboard guy. He's like he went to he was doing a project with like motocross. And it was like it was like 100-something degrees outside. It was the dead of summer, and all these guys are smashing these Monster energy drinks. I'm like, how can you guys be drinking that? He's like, it's so high. It's like, no, it's water, but it was a Monster can, but it was called Tour water, and it looked like they were drinking. He's like, the Monster's not going to let them be drinking like Dasani or something like that. They wanted to look like they're drinking Monster, so they put water in Monster cans and gave it to the people, and they're like, no, it's just water. He's like, that's brilliant.
We should do that. For real.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But,
That's pretty
that's
crazy.
cool. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Cool.
sports.
Sports. Yeah. I guess we should talk some sports maybe a little bit. I guess we could kind of recap where we were at the draft. I mean, I think Jason and I both like when we'll homer it for a minute, but I promise we'll get to some Bengals stuff.
Oh, it's fine.
When we both heard the Bears pick at 9, we both were like, "Really? Was that?" And now that I don't know about you, Jason, but now that I've had some time to digest it. Again, me being I don't watch enough college football to know. I just happen to know going into that draft that Colston Loveland was thought of as like the second best tight end in that draft. And so I was kind of shocked that first that they went tight end, and which we covered in that episode because I'm a big Cole Kmet fan. Secondly, that they went with what I thought was the second best tight end. But come to find out, seems like this guy was the real deal. He's just kind of like flying under the radar for a lot of teams, and like maybe people were trying to slow play him, hoping they could get him. I think I heard a lot after the fact. A lot of GMs were like, "Damn, you snagged him. We were hoping we could slow play and get him, get him after whatever the other
Right.
I forget what Warren or whatever the other tight end was.
Warren.
Warren, yeah.
Yeah, who went to Indianapolis, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think the whole thing with Warren is I think was the more decorated for his pass catching ability. But that Loveland was, I mean, he's bigger, stronger. Like, he's got the athletic traits. I think he's more rounded, but I actually wasn't surprised that you guys went with a tight end only because of who your new coach is.
Because BJ does the double tight end.
And in
12 man.
Detroit, he ran it early, he ran it often, and it worked. He ran it well.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you've got, because Komet, like you said, Komet is a solid tight end, and you throw him on the opposite side of Loveland, and that I feel like that ultimately what he's going to try to do is spread the offense out a little bit so that they can't just key on Caleb. Yeah. Give him even if it's a half of a second longer.
Right.
That's gonna make a huge impact. So
yeah, I think
multiple tight ends. If you keep them in for block if you need to, and it's not going to look any different. You can definitely scheme a little better.
I didn't think I was surprised because I know that was Ben Johnson's thing in Detroit, but he also came out and said I'm not just going to install the same offense I did in Detroit.
Well, you can't because you don't have the offensive line they had in Detroit.
Right.
Well,
you didn't. You didn't.
I still think we don't, but we're getting there. We're much better.
But in any event, I didn't think he was going to be as on the nose with wanting to draft two tight ends or draft another tight end to do whatever 50% two tight end sets. That would be pretty interesting to me. If that's the kind of offense he's going to install. But in any event,
you had a pretty shallow tight end depth outside of Komet. You really didn't have anybody else, so you needed.
That's true. Because
something there.
Did what's his name retire finally? Mercedes.
No, I think.
Did you guys have Mercedes Lewis?
We did.
What is he? 45.
42, I believe.
Oh my
gosh. So old.
That's crazy. I mean,
yeah, we picked him up on a 1-year deal last year, and I mean,
that's a hell of a veteran presence.
Exactly. I think that's essentially what it was just a vet presence. He didn't.
No.
He had zero. I think it took him to week 12 to even have a catch or something like that. But
oh, really?
Right.
Yeah. But he was kind of more in the blocking. But I remember prime Mercedes Lewis was he was catching.
Oh yeah. I mean, in Jacksonville, he was a problem.
Right.
He was an absolute problem in Jacksonville.
So Mercedes Lewis is still on the roster.
Are you still?
I would keep him. I'd keep him.
Yeah, if you can get him at a bargain price. I mean,
right.
How old is, he's I think 127 years old.
I do think I'm liking the Colston Loveland pick more and more, and I think it was kind of it felt like more of a luxury pick for me. I was telling Jason on the draft,
he's 40.
I felt younger than me.
Everybody is, Andy. Everybody is.
Football,
except for
they
you,
age in dog
Jason.
years. So.
Except for me.
In football, they age in dog years. So.
True, right.
That's right.
I was more interested in what they were going to do in the later rounds, which, for the most part, they pretty well nailed a lot of what I was kind of thinking for the later rounds. I think the Luther Burden one was an interesting one. I mean, I think where they got him made a lot of sense. I just wasn't expecting them to necessarily go for another wide receiver.
I'm a little surprised they went that route only because of the issues they had with DJ last year, and
I think that was a market pick, though. and wasn't it Ben that? I think that was. I think you're spot on. I think the issues they had with DJ last year, I think they're not. This regime's not going to let that go, and I think what Ben said after the draft was he made a comment, and I think this was pointed directly at DJ. He's like, if nothing else, we made a few people on our team have to work a little bit harder to earn their spot now. And I think that was kind of a DJ targeted
a little dig
there. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what happened with him. I like to think he wasn't going full blown prima donna, but man, the optics of some of the stuff he was doing in game towards the end of the year was not looking good.
Yeah.
Not looking good.
Was
So,
not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe
No,
maybe they
I-
were
I-
just kind of telling him, "Hey, you're gonna."
I
have to
was
fight
more
just like anybody
surprised.
else.
Yeah, I was more surprised by that pick than I was Loveland, only for the fact of like you said, Loveland did kind of feel like a luxury pick, like it's a nice to have. It's like, but when you didn't go offensive lineman or defensive lineman with the second pick, that was like,
Yeah.
okay, now it's interesting. Like it one or the other wouldn't have raised an eyebrow, but the
Right.
fact that he went 1-2 with offensive weapons like that, I was like, now it does seem like there's like I would have gone lineman at least
realistically-
one of the first two.
Sure.
Hey, Burden was I was
But I like
upset at the Burden pick.
I like this Ozzy kid that they got. I think he could be a good offensive
Yeah.
lineman too.
He's a
I mean,
freaking monster.
He's built like a house. And
Yeah.
and
He's
like
a
I don't
freaking
mind whatever he was, like third round or something, like second third round pick that we had or something. I think
Right.
I don't know, but I don't mind that at all. I do think that the way that the board shook out, there was just no we didn't get any luck whatsoever with any of the people that I think anybody wanted to pick. So
At a
like,
certain point, you have to take best
No.
available if what you need
Exactly.
isn't there. Yeah,
exactly, and I feel like that was like half luxury, half best available, and I
I think it was a miss that they didn't come away with a true edge, but
Fair.
we'll see. We'll see
think-
what happens.
I think who's that guy that they signed? I'm gonna butcher his name. The really long.
It starts with an O. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't freaking say his name.
Yeah.
I'm
I think
looking at the roster now to try and
they
see
pay
if I
that
can.
they pay that dude 16 mil or something like that. So,
Yeah, you mean the guy from Indianapolis? Was it Indianapolis? Where's he
yeah, I
from?
think so.
Obayingo.
Yeah, Obayingo. Yeah, that's-
Obayingbo.
Obayingo?
Deo.
Yeah,
Deo.
yes, Deo. Yeah,
Deo.
but like they paid him. They paid
You'll
him like
figure it
16
out.
Mil, right?
Yeah.
16 mil was his.
Yeah,
contract?
but again, he's a freaking Colt, and I just nothing. Nothing.
all I'm-
No play.
All I'm saying is
Not
that
pressed.
if you pay a guy that amount of money, whether you're wrong or right, you have to think that that's your solution to the
Oh, yeah.
to the
For
problem.
sure. I think that's accurate.
So like
Yeah.
the fact that they didn't go and necessarily draft a really or didn't have the opportunity to draft a blue chip edge rusher and didn't swing for much outside of that, to me, like everybody's saying, well, why didn't they do that? They didn't solve the need. Well, I think Dio is, with the money that you paid him, has to be your solution to that problem. We'll find out if it was right or wrong, but like that, it wasn't. We weren't looking at the draft as saying that's where we're going to solve this problem. We were saying we solved this problem with a $16 million signing. We'll see how it shakes
You
out.
solved the problem when the guy had 3 sacks last year.
I mean, he's
We'll
a
see.
freak of nature.
9 solos.
Yeah. I mean, what did Montez Sweat have last year?
I don't know.
I don't think it was
more than
one
3
more.
probably.
I don't even think it was that much more.
Oh, no, actually, might have been like 3 last year.
Right.
So,
And, like-
yeah, I don't.
And I think everybody still thinks that was a good signing, and they just think they need somebody on the opposite side to unlock him. And I feel like maybe that's the same holds true. Reflexive property of
Maybe.
addition. Flip both sides around, and
It's so
Both
funny
of
you
them.
say
He
that.
had a 5.5 last year and 12 solos. So
Not
Sweat
great.
did. So not fantastic,
it-
but
It's funny you say that though, Andy, because I think that was the Bengals' thought process when we went edge with our first round pick. And they're like, and you know what? If Trey Hendrickson doesn't want to like sign, then we're not screwed. Now this guy's sitting out because they lowballed him with his rookie contract
Right,
offer,
right.
and now both of our edge rushers are sitting out of practice right now, sitting out of minicamp because the Bengals keep lowballing him.
lowballing everybody. But that's
Yeah.
that's
Jeez.
Cincinnati
I mean,
for you, though, right?
Trey Hendrickson came out this week and was like, listen, the Bengals, I have not heard from them since the draft. At this point, it's personal. Like, I'm not playing this year with the Bengals with my current contract. And I'm not doing that because last year they said, listen, we're going to focus on this year, this, and then next year, I promise, we're going to pay you what you're worth. And then he went out, led the league in sacks, and they're like, well, like, let's not go crazy. I'm like, I led the league in sacks.
Whoa.
Wait a minute.
I did my part.
We weren't expecting you to do that.
Right, exactly.
He's not a free agent though. He's last year of his contract.
It's last year of his contract, but they told him last year because they kind of lowballed him on his last contract. And then because he's had like back-to-back 17 plus sack seasons. And they were like, listen, give us one more year. We'll figure it out next year. Well, I promise we got to figure out. We just paid Joe Burrow, made him the highest paid player in NFL history. Give us another year to recoup, and then we'll. And they're like, well,
see the way my
we got
bank
Chase
account
and
works
Higgins,
is-
right? I gotta move things around. Right?
I got to move some things around. I got the checkings and the savings.
Right.
Got to move.
Right.
Just let me move some things around, and then we'll pay you.
Right. So we
Burrow
went and drafted.
T and
Drafted someone opposite of Trey, and now both of them are sitting out because the Bengals are lowballing bastards.
what
They're everything that they say the Bears are, which they're not. That's always the knock on the Bears. Oh, they don't pay. They don't pay. They pay. Like I had never understood that knock on them.
Well,
They shell out money. They just put money in the wrong places.
wrong place. Yeah, I think I might have said this on air before. I think people tend to lump all of the Chicago ownerships of like all the teams into the same category, and like they confuse each other. Like the Ricketts are the ones that from the Cubs that notoriously don't pay, and Jerry Reinsdorf with the Sox doesn't pay. You know, like in baseball he won't pay either. Right. So I think like they tend to think, oh well, the McCaskies are probably in the same boat too. But yeah, they're not adverse to that. But yeah, to your point, they just put money in stupid places.
Right.
But hopefully now they got enough people telling them where to put their money.
Yeah, you would hope.
In pace we trust.
Yeah. Well, yeah. In polls, but yeah.
In polls, sorry, not
polls,
pace, polls.
But yeah, like I mean, yeah, and I think he's doing a pretty good job. But like at least a lot of the stuff's pretty clear at this point. And what I do like about what Poles is doing is he knows damn well he's gonna either have to pay or get off the pot with Caleb in a few years, after his rookie contract. So everything he's structured is structured around having to make that move at some point. So he doesn't have to be like, well, we just spent a lot of money on all these other people, so we can't pay you.
Yeah.
Well,
that's hoping more books don't come out talking about Caleb smashing, doing everything he can to avoid being drafted by the Bears.
Yeah, that was brutal. Like, yeah, the book that came out today was, or that was referenced today, was that Caleb. There were some details into what lengths Caleb went to avoid being drafted by the Bears, and more so, I guess, kind of his dad as well too. Which, in fairness, I knew that was leading up to it. That was always gonna be the thing. Like they were saying even this, like as soon as we knew we got the first overall pick, they were like, oh, Caleb's going back to USC. He's not gonna come out.
Right.
He doesn't. Like that was always the narrative, and I don't think that there was zero truth to that. But I think you look at the Bears organization, you look at their track record on historical records, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to do that. But that's always how first overall picks are. They always end up going to there's a reason why.
Well, right.
The first overall pick
being the perfect example.
goes to the worst team. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. But I think if you start to take a look at it,
but they weren't the worst team.
Hopefully,
Caleb wasn't their pick.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what I mean. It's
wasn't
like
their pick. Yeah.
I think
he could have went to Carolina.
Yeah.
I think they had to, if they're smart people, which I happen to believe that they are. They started to maybe look at that and say, this is a rare opportunity where the first overall pick doesn't belong to the worst team. Yeah, it belongs to a team that has struggled at this position to build a championship caliber quarterback, but it could be worse. Like you could, you could end up on a worse team. So
I think the quote that everyone's pulling from Caleb's dad was, his dad said, "Well, Chicago, the Bears are where quarterbacks go to die." Yeah. But I would argue, historically, I think that title goes to the Cleveland Browns. They've had 26 different starters over the last 12 years or something like that.
It always puts a smile on my face when they show the graphic about how many starting quarterbacks the Cleveland Browns have had, because they always do that for the damn Bears. They always show that graphic. Some graphics departments spend hours putting 3D crap together that shows how many people friggin' started for the Bears, and the only other team that can get that same sort of treatment is the friggin' Browns.
Is the Browns,
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's from Caleb's perspective too. It's, and I got to think that this factored in too. Is that think about it from. I'm not going to be superstitious, right? So I'm going to put superstition aside. What if I am the guy? And it does, I do break the mold. You're immortalized forever.
Right. I think that's what people don't get.
They will create statues around you, right? They will do everything. And he will never be forgotten. So in my mind, that's a total Caleb thing, right? He would be all about that. And be the first person to say, yeah, I'm going to break that mold. I'm going to be the one who does it.
Right.
Because of his level of confidence and whatnot. But I also got to imagine that polls had a lot to do with him signing as well. And just talking to him on the side and just saying, listen, we're not the same organization. Yeah. You got to give me a chance. Look at what, and then his hopes may have been dashed initially when he was. But then they pull off and they go get a Dunze.
I still to this day cannot believe you guys got a Dunze, because that was 109 or something like that.
Yep. Right.
What a
fell into our lap.
I thought he was going no later than 105, 106.
Well, it was Atlanta. That was
108. That's right, because they took Penix.
Yeah. They took Penix.
That's right.
That.
And we're all what? What happened?
Yeah, I was completely floored. I was like, they just handed us Rome Odunze for Michael Penix when they signed
Kirkpatrick to $180 million. Not Kirkpatrick. Kirk Cousins for $180 million contract.
Yeah. What? Are you kidding me?
Insanity.
So crazy.
I still listen to that lineup. You use this article drops, and he's got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Burden, Cole Kmet, and Colston Loveland. Are you effing serious?
So to be fair, this is just that the book's coming out now. He's probably been writing this for a year.
Yeah.
So,
this is true.
If not longer.
This is fair enough. But he's if they hit, he's arguably got one of the top 5 receiving cores in the league if they can pull it off.
He's fallen into probably one of the best situations that a 101 pick has gotten into by their second year ever.
Doesn't get much better. Yeah, despite the historic...
There are no excuses.
You remove the historical ineptitude of us being able to groom a quarterback or whatever our records have been. You remove that. That is the best situation. You can't... there was a reason why the national media gave that a bunch of attention last year, because it was such an awesome situation. We bungled the absolute ever-loving shit out of that opportunity, but
I don't know if you
even
saw
last
the other
year was
thing
still
that
a
came
good,
out, Andy. Yeah.
good option.
I don't know if you heard the other thing that came out from that article is they're saying that during his entire rookie year, he said, nobody told me what to watch on film. I just went in by myself and then watched film. No one told me what to look for, what packages to look for, tendencies, because they just sent me in the room by myself and I watched film by myself.
He said he didn't even know how to work the machine. Nobody told him how to work the machine to even watch film.
That's more concerning than everything.
Right. What a complete indictment.
Yeah. No, it was pretty brutal. But
on that
the comment I've been wanting to make about that is you mentioned it. The fact that the book came out now, I am okay with if those were his vibes coming into this.
Right.
I'm totally fine with it. I think the
No one
both could
on
be
that
true.
team
I think it
gives
could be
two flying craps about what this book says.
right, and I honestly feel like that both can be true. Like he could have spent an awful lot of resources trying to avoid coming to the Bears and still be happy that he's here now. I think the both can be true, and I do genuinely feel like he's in a spot where things are getting better. So I'm hoping that if he had any sort of bad thoughts or negative vibes from how things happened last year, like he's at least going to give this next year a shot. And to me, if we progress in the right direction, that's going to be a win for me. I mean, obviously the hopium is like, oh, we'll just redo what we should have been last year this year, but most people are putting them at like 9-10 wins, which is a massive upgrade, but and likely a playoff team if things fall the way they should. But
if you think about it, it's really the sweet spot. Like, if you don't do well, then we're like, well, expectations, like it's the Bears. Right. The Bears are going to bear or whatever. But if you do great, then like you get all the credit, even if it's not necessarily yours to have,
Right.
But I think what he liked about the Vikings, like I mentioned before, having weapons like Justin Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson and all that stuff. But I think the fact that the Vikings were so close so many years with Kirk and didn't quite make it, he's like, if I go in there, I know that it's possible with what they have. They were so close, but couldn't swing it. Like, if I, you're starting halfway up the hill, right?
Right.
Whereas like with the Bears, like I'm gonna have to pull this thing up from my bootstraps, And I think he was intimidated by that a little bit.
Yeah, you obviously can't see into the future, but just looking at it on face value, do I want to play for Matt Eberflus or Kevin O'Connell? Like, it's a no-brainer, I want to play for O'Connell, right? He seems to be the quarterback whisperer who brought Kirk Cousins back from the dead. So, of course he wanted to go play for that and have all those weapons. That's pretty amazing. But now, I don't think he's complaining. So
yeah,
and how the chips fell. So I'm excited. Hopium's at a whole all-time high. Hope springs eternal in Chicago, and it's springing, baby. It's springing. I can't wait to get to football season.
Ben went on the Herd, I think, today too. That was another interview that I watched. Yeah, it was pretty decent. Ben has his like media personality tuned pretty well. I feel like there wasn't anything really super telling in there. He tried to like poke at him about the whole book thing, and he wasn't like, listen, I don't know what's going on from last year, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. We're looking forward.
Yeah. But there was like, I think one, I don't want to say like surprising, but like kind of like candid or more candid than I thought he would be question that they asked him. They asked him like, what do you think is realistic for your team in terms of like how long it's going to take for you to kind of realize you're firing on all cylinders? Because I think that's the question is like, can you get the ship righted
quick
ASAP?
enough?
And he said like a lot of the teams that he's been involved in, he's like, he feels like they don't hit their stride till like midway, like sometimes 10 games into the season, which I thought was pretty telling. He's like, I'm not suggesting that we're gonna go out there and we won't see our first win until game 10, but it's like, but it was like, it wasn't like this whole, well, it's gonna take us a little while to get our legs under us, but it was also not this, we should be winning every game right out of the gates. It was kind of like somewhat like measured somewhere in between. I thought it was a pretty interesting,
because I guarantee you he's got some data somewhere.
Sure. Well, yeah, the dude's
Well, and that's the other thing is, say, okay, you're not hitting full speed until week 10. Let's say you got the weapons, you get a relatively par strength of schedule for those first 10 games. Say you win half of them. All right, then you've got 6, 7, 8 games there in the back half where you're firing all cylinders and you win the bulk of those. Like if you're getting into the playoffs and you're getting hot at the right time, there's something to that. I mean, look, the Bengals have done the slow start and then fought back like 3 years in a row and just missed the playoffs with winning like going like 1-3, 1-4. Well, if you're starting off 5-5 or something like that, and then you've got that streak, like getting hot at the right time is without like as long as you're not having a slow start, I think that's fair. I mean, it's the NFL, like there's no such thing as an easy win,
Yeah, and that's that's a great point. Like you cannot underestimate the power, for lack of a better term, of getting hot at the right time. But it also you have to match that against the fact that this is the NFL, and every game can make or break you. Like if you don't pocket some wins early on in the season when you should be pocketing those wins, that will absolutely bite your ass and at the end of the year a lot more.
This
than
isn't baseball where there's 160 games,
Yeah. But I do think because obviously baseball hot at the right time is all that really matters. Which to that end, the Cubs came out hot, so now I'm hoping they don't go to the not hot at the right time.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, the Reds just lost to the White Sox yesterday or 2 days ago, so we're at an all-time low right now.
Dude, yeah, what's going on with the friggin' Cardinals, man? I don't even we should both of us can lament over the fact that all of a sudden the Cardinals came out of nowhere. Let me look at this.
Yeah.
That like a 9-game winning streak.
Did they really? Damn. Yeah. The Reds went on a 6-game winning streak. I was like, sweet, we're rolling. Yeah. And then we went against Atlanta, and that stopped that real quick. And then the next series we're like losing to Chicago, like White Sox. I'm like, oh no. We hit some sort of ceiling and then fell off a cliff.
Right. I don't want to spend too much time on the Cubs, but in baseball in general. But yeah, it was awesome to see the start that their offense had for the Cubs. I mean, I know you guys got some good stuff coming too, so I'm definitely not sleeping on the Reds. But friggin', I remember I logged in one time to a few weeks back to the MLB app, and I went into like team statistics. The Cubs were leading in every offensive category except for like home runs. Every one of them. Like
damn.
Doubles, triples, runners in scoring position, OPS, average, like everything. The Cubs were number one on every single one of them. I took a screenshot and I sent it to my dad, and I was like, is this good? Are we good? Like,
right. That's crazy.
I mean, they've kind of leveled off. I mean, it was Aaron Judge and the Yankees were above them on home runs by like a few, but like,
yeah. Well, every other to be fair, they did have like 9 in one game, so that's the torpedo bat. Thank God that's leveled off. But
yeah. Anyway, that was my Cubs rant. Now we're kind of screwed because half of our starting pitching is out, and we got one guy with an oblique, one guy with Tommy Johns, and
Well, that's not going to help.
No,
no. But the Reds had a player go in the 10-day IL. Brought in a guy first start in the big leagues, cruising, dives for a ball in left field, snaps his forearm. First game in the MLB. First game, snaps his forearm in half. Yeah, brutal. Gruesome. Yeah.
Well, talk about gruesome
in football.
Too. I don't know if you guys
wrap that up, you get back out there.
Yeah, right. It's so the Celtics.
I gotta check this one out too, but like, talk about gruesome. I was watching the Cubs game the other day. I'm sure you guys probably saw this. So they were at Pittsburgh, playing against Pittsburgh, and they have the Roberto Clemente wall, 21 feet in right field. Some fan fell.
Oh, I did see that.
Like,
I saw that.
And I was watching this live. Like, it. Granted, I couldn't make out what had actually happened during the play, but like, like just the way the whole crowd went like silent, everybody went down on their knee. Like, I knew it was not good. I don't know like what happened, but like couple of days later, and the kid was still like he was a 20-year-old kid. He was still in like critical condition because
He landed on his head, didn't he?
End over end and landed on his head. Like it was.
Nice. That's a hell of a drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was assuming it was going to get messy. I have to like check into this because, like, there were other fans that were saying that he took his shirt off the inning before and was like slamming beers and throwing beer, but he's only 20 years old.
Right.
Like,
I mean, that's things that 20-year-old kids do, you know?
Fair, but like, how's he getting a beer at 20 years old? Like, I was thinking like this was going to get messy, you know, like where it's like, legally. Legally, where like, oh, did Pittsburgh, you know, the stadium allow this to happen or blah, 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 blah. But yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Like it shook me, man. It really shook me to watch that and just see this poor kid just go end over end, man.
Yeah.
And like
I saw the video and it looks like he jumped up with his hands on the fence because he was like excited and then just went over and it was just ragdoll.
Ass over tea kettle. Yep. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it shook me and it was like one of those things where I was just like. Afterwards, it took like probably about like a good day afterwards before I was like, Jesus, man. And they asked these guys to then turn around and just play the rest of the game.
Right.
You know, they carted that guy off and took him straight to the ER. You have no idea if you just watched a guy freaking die on the field and you got to go turn around and play baseball for 3 more innings. Like,
yeah. I mean, I was watching the Bengals-Bills game when Hamlin's heart stopped, and the Bengals are like,
I watched that too.
We're not gonna make you guys finish this game. Like we're like it had playoff implications, and they're like some things are bigger than football. This is one of those things. We're not gonna finish this game.
Yeah, that was.
But that was crazy. But I still like, and obviously the Hamlin thing was not as. I mean, obviously it was like shocking because like someone basically died on the field and then were brought back. But like, I remember something like I had a physical reaction to something was, I don't know if you guys, and this is probably 12, 13 years ago, but that NCAA March Madness where that guy just did a standard jump shot and then snapped his shin in half.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. No.
And like they did not shy away on the replays, and that was, I remember we were at a bar watching. It was a big game.
Yeah,
and it was gross. Like,
I do not do well with that stuff at all. Like, I get such bad like what do you call it? Like sympathy pains or whatever. Like when I can't watch that crap. That's where I draw the line. But like they. I remember seeing it, like as soon as I saw that one replay, I was like, I'm done. Turn it off. I don't want to see it again. I don't want like there was no little amount of interest that was like. No, absolutely. I don't need to see that ever again.
Yeah.
Stuff's brutal.
Replay it for me. I'm good.
You're good? Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't.
Don't bother me.
I will say, I did watch that Aaron Rodgers' Achilles shoot up the back of his leg about 40 times. Because that was like it literally looks like he has something running up his sock. That was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
The Achilles, yeah.
You know that you had some enjoyment there.
I mean, anyways.
Yeah. Bears fans watched it 100 times.
Yeah, I know.
Poor guy.
But
now
he's putting the Steelers through the ringer. So
right.
Now I'm rooting for him to do his Rodgers thing. One more time,
exactly.
Baby.
Yeah, right. One more go run around the merry-go-round. So
set that franchise back 4 or 5 years, please.
Literally snap the ball and throw it backwards for the rest of your career.
Right. That's crazy.
So I don't want to go too far away from NFL before we get a chance for you to talk about what your outlook on the drafts from Cincinnati was. Like, what do you like? What do you don't like?
So I feel like we didn't go after the guys I had expected or hoped, but I do think that we touched on all the places that I wanted us to touch. Right. So we did get some offensive linemen. We did get some defensive players. Defensive linemen, defensive edge. We did get some defensive backs. I think.
Was that corner? I was gonna say, was that corner your first round pick? Or who was it?
No, our edge, the edge rusher was our first round pick. And
Yeah,
that one was, again, the guy that, again, not the guy I expected or that I was hoping for, but it's a classic Bengals pick, right? So they go for the freak athletic traits and then hope that they can craft him into somebody that's salvageable. And historically, we're not great at that. And defense. So, well, not since O'Connell left, but or not O'Connor, Zimmer, but we're decent on offense. So I think we have the right head coach to go, quarterback and wide receiver and like those. I feel like we do well at. It helps when you're starting with Jamar Chase as like your standard, but historically, like all the best defensive players that we have that we drafted high not new. Like our best defensive player is someone we traded for, right?
Yeah.
And all the best defensive players that we drafted were guys that we got in the 4th, 5th, 6th round that happened to overperform. But all the high draft 1st, 2nd, 3rd round guys all tank. Like they're all terrible. Yeah. So I was like, I wish we would go at least a little more steady, like rounded players.
Mm-hmm.
But
rather than projects,
right. Rather than projects, especially considering, I feel like we are on the clock a little bit because
you have a window.
We're in a window because there's only so long we can afford Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins before we have to sign the next guy. So like we kind of have to capitalize now. And I understand that we need somebody important opposite of Trey Hendrickson to take some of that pressure off of him, but they can't be a complete project. So I feel like I felt better about it after I kind of dug a little deeper into it because his lack of sacks scared me. So talking about our first round pick, Stewart, because he only had 4 sacks, but he was like one of the most interruptive edge in all of football. Like had a high rush, like a rushing the quarterback, like hurried plays and all that stuff. He gets in your face. He
those are underrated.
Takes attention.
Those are underrated stats in my opinion. I really feel like that. Yeah, like maybe it's because I played defensive end when I was playing football, but like I feel like there's so many more things other than a sack that you could do good on a particular play that is just as useful as a sack. Like it might not produce negative net yardage like a sack does, which everybody wants.
Yeah.
But like, if you can disrupt the play, like like there's only so many quarterbacks out there in that league that know what to do when a play breaks down and have that natural ability to do it. So if you can disrupt that play, there's a half the quarterbacks in the league, you're going to throw them into a spot where they're not comfortable and they don't know what the F to do. And that's, like that's an easy down you gain right there just by, like just putting your arms up too in throwing lanes, like that's I feel like another underrated stat with defensive edge rushers and ends. Like if you can perfect getting your arms up in throwing lanes and stuff, so many times I felt like I was able to deflect the ball. I had no idea even where it was. It was just my instinct was to put my hand up in a particular area, and lo and behold, the ball came that way. And even if you don't, like you might mess up the vision of the person who's trying to catch the ball too. So those were there's a ton of like underrated stats. Like I don't feel like
they're game impacting things
yeah.
that are not high. They're not sexy stats. But if you can, as an edge, you can take out the lead blocker and open it up for somebody else. If you can disrupt the timing, that's huge. If you can even so much as just turn them in, that's going to help the rest of your team have time to come. And it could be a 2-yard run instead of a 15-yard run or whatever. Like if you can disrupt the timing, knock things out of whack, those aren't sexy stat-driven improvements, but it's going to majorly impact the game.
Yeah, and those 34 fronts that they run now, I mean, your edges basically they are linebackers.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Like
so athletic.
When when an edge squeezes a play or is playing RPO, like those are factors that just aren't considered, and shoving a play back, turning running back inside towards pressure is a wild, like it's not reported, but the good ones do it well.
Yeah.
It's probably, and I think based on the stats that I was looking at, that I think that's one of the reasons why they chose Deo on the Bears, because he played the run really well.
Mm-hmm. Don't forget too, like in terms of project guys, we got one of those on our team too. We still have Austin Booker, who's a project guy,
right.
like, as well too. They still have high hopes for him. I mean, what was he, 4th round pick I think last year, but dude is a absolute physical freak, and he just so we could be in the same boat where like we're looking at solving some of our edge problems by, like, he was. I don't think he was necessarily bad last year, but he looked like he was a 4th round draft pick coming onto a team. So I think if he can progress a little bit, there's options there, and so I don't necessarily mind the projects as well too, but I think you have to look at some of those other stats like you were talking about that aren't necessarily the sexy stats. If you could see those in your project already, then I think that there's opportunity there for sure.
And that's what I think they saw in Stewart. I think they saw the sexy traits, the physical specimen, but then they saw the motor that he plays with, which is another one. Because, you can be the most talented guy in the world, but if you don't work hard, you give up early, you don't play, like, you're going to lose respect, you're going to lose the team, and then you're going to lose your job. So, like, the fact that, he may not have had he may have only had 4 sacks, but that dude was in every play and disrupting everything and knocking time and was in your face. Like, he may not have gotten the one that been the one that got the interception, but he was damn sure the one that caused it, because he was up in that quarterback's face causing mayhem. So that I felt a lot better about it afterwards, after I saw some of his tape, saw kind of the effort he plays with, but. I felt better about that. Like I said, then we went like linebacker. We went guard, so we kind of shored up some of our offensive lineman stuff. Tackle. And Taj Brooks, I feel like, is the one that I'm excited. I'm excited outside of our 1st round pick, Stuart. I'm probably most excited about Brooks, who's our 5th round pick as a running back, because I feel like Chase Brown, who's our current, had a hell of a season last year. Is not an every down back. He's not built like an every down back. He's definitely more of a pass. Historically, I feel like if he, like when we had Mixon, Chase was that third down guy, catching back, really elusive, really got great burst. He doesn't have the body to be a 3-down back, right? I'm hoping that Brooks, although he does have some pass catching ability for sure, more so than Mixon did, I feel like hopefully that adds a little bit of that more 1-2 punch, traditional kind of combination that you want to see in a running back by committee, which we're gonna have to run because we don't have a star running back anymore. But I'm excited. I feel like he's the highest upside guy. I think he'll probably prove to be the most value pick that we got out of the draft.
Valuable pick.
But so it again, like not mad about the draft. We didn't get any sexy picks, not any sexy players, but I'm not mad.
Cool.
So,
it's good.
Good stuff. Yeah, we nothing fell our way. That's for sure. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Comparatively,
we'll see
like I think that's like the universe writing itself for the fact that Odunze fell into our lap now. It's like this year.
Right.
There's only so much draft luck you could have.
Right, exactly. There were so many avenues for draft luck this year, and then none of them, like everything went to plan.
That Bourbon pick was the last piece in that trade, right, with the Panthers.
Yes. That was the last.
It is
the
officially
last of the trade of the
Watch
fleece.
him be an absolute dog and just that one last dig with the Panthers.
Oh my God, that would obviously make me the happiest ever. But like, I love looking at that trade on paper, like just like what it netted out. It was just like.
If I were a Bears fan, I would print that out and have it framed on my wall in my office.
That is, people quickly, get on polls, but then they quickly forget that was definitely a king move. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm still
pretty impressive.
Like,
That was an
just-
organizational changing trade.
Right.
So mad.
By far.
I happened to be back at the location of where I was. I'm not going to go into the details of it because it's fairly innocuous, but I happened to be at the location I was where I learned of that trade a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I just remember being at it's like one of those where were you at at that moment?
I was just about to make that comment. Like, where were you when Poles pulled off a miracle?
Right. I was there. I probably won't ever forget where I was at that moment because I went back there and I was like, I remember this is exactly where I was when I heard this trade. But
Right.
I remember to this day where I was when the Bengals finally fired Marvin Lewis. I was like, I've been a Bengals fan since I was 12 years old. I've never seen another coach. So
yeah,
what
what do we do? I don't even know what to do with my hands right now.
Right. Is it inappropriate if I hug somebody? That's crazy.
What's anybody got any plans for summer at all? Transition into
All the things.
you doing anything with the kids?
So we've been trying to convince our Midwest friends to finally come and visit us for, I don't know, 12 years, something like that. And then they all decided to come the same summer. So we've got four different groups of people.
Or Andy.
Because you guys know that the invitation's always open with you guys. I don't need to invite you. You say when and where, and I'll make sure everything. We got the we got the bed sheets clean.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
But we have a bunch of groups coming down. We
Cool.
have first group coming down for 4th of July, and then another group coming down end of July. We have another group coming in September, and then another group coming in November. So everyone's coming this year.
You're gonna
Better
be
keep
busy.
that house clean.
Yeah, right. Seriously, if anything, it's gonna light a fire under my ass to wrap up some of these projects that have been hanging over my head.
Yeah, that's true.
We got a fairly busy summer, but I just got back from the first leg of it where we took the boys to the Disney of the Midwest, also known as Wisconsin Dells.
Oh, nice.
And they
It's,
will take your money.
If
just
Disney
as,
was a Velvet Elvis.
That's great. That's so perfect. It is the Velvet Elvis. They will they'll take away just as much as of your money as Disney will, and they're not.
Yeah, this is true. This is especially if you stay at the big lodges, that's for sure.
And
which you did.
Yes, which we did. And to put into perspective what those 3 days were like, we got. I was telling Jason about this too. We right when we got there, boys been in the car. We're like, let's give them 20-30 minutes of arcade time to just stretch their legs and get some of their jollies out.
$200 later.
So, yeah, $75 worth of tickets over 15 minutes later. I'm in the ticket exchange area. My son's throwing a full-on meltdown because he doesn't understand that $75 and 15 minutes worth of tickets is enough to buy you a miniature Slinky and a Tootsie Roll. And
Right.
He doesn't realize that, and I think his tantrum was only matched in its amplitude by my tantrum about the fact that I was not close enough to any sort of bourbon at that moment to cope with that.
Yeah.
Because
Dad, I want the Nintendo DS.
right, dude. Yeah. Oh boy, you need sit down, son. We're gonna have a lesson in economics right here in the middle of.
What happened to just playing video games just to play them? Why do there got to be freaking tickets involved now? Right? You can't go into an arcade now without them all being ticket type games.
Yeah,
It's
no,
crazy.
and
Because how else are they going to convince you to buy $200 worth of cards to get more
Right.
tickets?
if you don't,
No,
exactly, yeah.
I get it. It's
Yeah.
just it's a sad indictment on today's arcade play.
It's freaking brutal, and yeah, they go nuts for this stuff too. He threw a tantrum, and then when he realized, okay, you can, the alternative is that we hold on to these tickets, come back a
Right.
little bit later, acquire more said tickets, and maybe up your prize tier to something that you might like more. No, I want the 5-cent piece of freaking plastic jumpy frog that I flick and it goes bing bing bing. I want that for 30 tickets, aka $15-ish roughly. I want that now, and that's the only thing that I want. And if you take it away from me, I'm gonna cry even more. Like it was, oh god.
Yeah.
Times.
Freaking
Good
kids are
times.
brutal, man.
Before we wrap up, Andy,
Yeah.
let's play the golf question.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So I'm going to shamelessly lift this from another podcast. I don't even know what podcast it was. Not that we could give it any credit that would be any meaningful based on our viewership, but I will shamelessly rip this off. So there's a hypothetical question for you. Your job is going to be to golf. So now you quit your job, you're just going to be a golfer full time. $50,000 base salary. You can play every day. If you get a birdie, it's worth $1,000. A eagle is worth $5,000 or $10,000. We'll say $5,000. And a hole in one is worth $100,000. Are you taking that job with a base salary of $50,000?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Explain. Not that you're wrong. I mean, like the whole point is to talk
Like,
this
what's your
thing
thought
out.
process?
Well,
Yeah.
okay. So I guess there's extenuating circumstances. Do I have a family?
I mean, yeah, but let's just say, like, this is your job. Like, you're
Today.
It's your 9 to 5 now is to be a golfer. So just like you would go to your job with your current family, you're required to go to your job as a golfer. Again, this is not meant to trick you up. It's just like it's an interesting thought exercise when you start to do the math and the economics of it. I was, I asked Cody earlier.
I don't know. Okay, so I second guess. My gut reaction was yes, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I love playing golf. Don't get me wrong, I really do. Mm-hmm. But do I love it that much? For $50,000, you gotta really love it. Like your passion has got to far exceed the monetary value associated with it.
That's an interesting approach at it, because I took the purely economical approach at it, which was, okay, yeah, I know I love to golf, so I can very easily golf every day.
That was my thought process too. I was like, I love golfing, so I could definitely.
But what's the economics of it? $50,000 sounds like a pretty crappy, well, maybe. I mean, I don't want to be presumptuous, but $50,000 does not sound like a very,
we all have families and multiple children at various ages and dependencies.
Yeah.
All right. So you switch that to NIL in a Big Ten school. Sign me the F up.
Well, again, I think
or even any type of professional football. So again, to my point, the passion for that would far outweigh the monetary value associated with it.
But I think I think and I did this initially too. I think what everybody should do is start to do the economics of it a little bit more in depth and realize.
The economics don't make sense.
No,
in any capacity.
In fact, it's quite the opposite, really. I mean, think about it. $1,000 for every birdie, $5,000 for every eagle, and $100,000 for every hole in one. You can play every day. Like when Cody and I were talking about this, we were like, even if we
I said even
limited
if it's per tournament.
For tournament,
it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, even if you went tournament style.
Right, you play in 18 holes. You say 75. Yeah, say 50 to 75% of those holes you're getting a birdie on.
That's pretty high. I was saying if it's 2 or 3 a hole. Like, this is me, not if I'm Tiger Woods. I'm saying if this is me playing golf.
I'm considering, okay, you've essentially reached basically pro status if you're going to be playing every single day.
If you're going to be playing every day. But even if, let's do the worst case scenario, or we won't say worst case. We'll say a pretty average scenario. Like if
someone asked you right now, to make this decision.
It's not a good deal if you have someone ask me right now, because I'm only gonna make 50 grand. I'm probably only gonna get 1 to 2 birdies per session. Hell ain't gonna get no hole in one, and maybe once a month I get an eagle.
So think it this way.
But look at
I
this.
play once a week.
Say you golf. Well, saying if you were able to golf even minimum 4 times a week.
4 times
so
a
that's
week.
your Thursday,
Okay.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
52
That's
weeks a year.
Times
a
18.
little over 200 rounds of golf, right?
It's 208 rounds of golf a year, assuming 52 weeks
Right.
a year. So
Assuming
52
you
times
hit
4 is 208.
2 birdies around. $1,000 a birdie. I mean, you're like over $400,000 right there. And
two birdies
is very achievable.
Yes,
200,
this
okay.
is what I mean. You got to do the economics of it. So I
Right.
just did four rounds a week at 52 weeks times 2 is 416 birdies per year. 416
That's
birdies
$400,000 for a pretty
times
average round.
$100,000.
And you're only going to get
Nice.
better. And there's no
Exactly.
time limit. It's not like you have like for a month, this is your salary. Like this is, it didn't say like, oh, you could just 5-10 years, you're only going to get better. You know, I mean,
Right.
if you're getting
All right.
5, 6, 7
Yeah.
birdies around, and 5 years from now, you're rolling
It's
it.
a sneaky
Right.
it's a sneaky question because obviously the base salary is meant to throw you off from the economics of it. It's kind of like
Yeah.
it's kind of like any sales job, really. You know, you look at it and it's
true.
like you
Commission.
go exactly. You look at the base salary and you think, oh, this sucks. But like the people that can go after it and get it, you know, when you have incentives for how well you perform, start to
It's a
realize that
meritocracy question.
that ceiling is a lot higher than you really think it is. And like
It's like that. It's like from The Office. She's like, in sales, if you're bad at sales, you make almost no money. She's
Yeah.
like, I guess that's fair.
yeah, as soon as you say it out loud, like if I'm bad
I
at
guess
my
that's
job, I don't make oh, yeah, I guess that's fair. But yeah, I liked that one because like my initial gut reaction was like I can't live off of $50,000, but when you start to do the economics of it and you do the math, and like that was even just playing 4 times a week, like
Right.
you know, like if we did the math on just like the upper bound of like if you got like 8, you know, like birdies on every hole, like what is the
3.3 million or
it was
something.
like 4 point something million, like if you got birdies on every hole, which obviously is not going to happen, but it's like when you have to start factoring in the fact that you could make a hole in one and you could make an eagle, like the math gets, you know, like obviously more fuzzy. So if you averaged out and you just for some reason just hit eagle or birdie on every hole, you know, like you averaged 18 under on a round, which is, I guess, is when you think about that, is pretty nuts. But
And it's something to also look, you know, take into account. If you get to where you're hitting a birdie on every hole, you're probably getting in the you're getting
the
professional money too. You're getting into the PGA,
Right.
and you're getting some hella contracts.
then we got to caveat it by
Yeah.
saying like you have to stay in this role, like you can't you know, you can't go on to the PGA Tour, because I do think that the upper bound of like 4.5 million is probably pretty low for that score. You know, like if you're only pulling 4.5 mil, but you're averaging 18 under per round, like you could make more money on the tour. I feel like in that if you're getting those.
It's a fun question though.
It is a fun.
Yeah.
Good one to wrap.
So
up.
I asked our friend Perplexity. So Perplexity says that the average number of birdies per round for a PGA Tour player typically falls between 3.6 and 3.8. So,
Yeah, I mean,
They're also
is
playing on
less
the
than I thought.
hardest courses in the world, though.
Yeah.
They're not playing
Right.
on
From the
like your
tips,
average,
yeah, right.
And they're playing from the backpack.
Right.
Like, again, like I mean, 400.
Very best players can average 5.
Yeah, but like averaging 2 is $400,000. Averaging 1 is like $200,000. Like so that like, and if again, this is something we're talking about, you're doing every day. Plus, there's added incentives if you get, you know, you can get a couple eagles very easily, and say you get 2 hole-in-ones,
in the course of a year.
In the course of a year, you're that's
Right.
pretty good. Even 1 hole-in-one in the course of a year, plus whatever you're averaging, birdie wise and eagle wise, you're still looking at pretty close to half a mil if you're good.
I was telling Andy, I think if you want to make it interesting, then you need to start subtracting for double and triple bogeys. That's when you really got to start thinking about it.
That is true.
Hey, if there's no penalties for me going for it every single time, I'm sending it. Birdie or bust. But if I start getting money taken away for double and triples, that's a whole different ballgame. I'd be losing money.
And I do think the answer to the question also, is impacted by your current skill set as a golfer as well too. Like, to me, we started do we layer in some negative incentives and stuff too?
Be a great interview question.
Medium average is 3.5 bogeys per round.
Yeah. So it couldn't be 1-to-1. We talked about this too. You couldn't just subtract $1,000 for every bogey, just like you would add $1,000 for every birdie. Because it'd be a wash. It would be a wash, exactly. So the negative incentive has to be a little less than the positive incentive. But I feel like how close you are to a scratch golfer today also impacts whether or not negative incentives are gonna, need to necessarily be in play. I don't think, I know obviously currently 2 birdies per round is well out of reach for me. So adding a negative incentive really doesn't make much sense, because I'm gonna struggle to get.
You'd be broke.
Yeah, I'm gonna struggle to get to 200. Get to that 1 to 2 birdies per round anyway. But
right. That was a great question, though.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
That's a good question.
That'd be a good way to end the shows from now and just find an interesting would you rather type question.
Yeah.
But
all right, well, I think we're just about done for tonight, and thank everybody that stumbles upon this as always. And if you do and you like what you hear, please subscribe and don't come on. Optimistic here.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, it's a big fat 0. Trust me.
I'm gonna share this right after this.
Right.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean people can't watch later. They're just not watching right now.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
In any event, we have like always, we have fun, so we'll keep doing it. And as long as it's fun for us, and if you stumble upon it and you like it, please, by all means, thumbs up, subscribe. If you really, really like it, let's launch this thing to the freaking moon, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Anyway, cheers, guys. Thanks, and we will see you again real soon. Until then,
next time.
Just a Bit Outside podcast, signing off.
Cheers.
There he goes.
Sure.
All right, guys.
We'll see you later, folks. All right.